what to read. Let's figure it out. Hey pals, Alicia here. I hope you are doing well. And if you're new here, this is the place where we talk about books. Today I'm here to do my January TBR. And if you are new here, every month I have a bit of a TBR game. I call it the D20 challenge, where I have a D&D D20 die, and this is a 20-sided die. And for every number that is on this die, I have an associated reading prompt that is designed to help me pick and prioritize books that are on my owned TBR. So the whole point of the D20 challenge is to make me read books that I own and that are currently on my shelf. So 2021 is a new year, and going forward, I'm going to be keeping the D20 game, keeping the D20 challenge, but I'm going to be changing up the rules slightly for it. So first things first, I'm going to go through the game updates, I'm going to go through the prompt updates, and then we will proceed to find out what I will be reading in January. First up for rule changes, in previous months I would only roll the D20 3 times a month, so that was 3 rolls, 3 picks from my shelf. Going forward, I'm going to be rolling the D20 5 times, so I will be picking 5 books from my shelf every month. And the reason why I'm going to change this is A, because I love prioritizing books that I own. I love reading books that I own, but I'm also going to try in 2021 to try and integrate any sort of readathons or reading challenges or buddy reads also into the D20 challenge. Like normally I kept them separately. I would do like the D20 rolls and then I would do any readathons. So now I'm going to try and pick readathon prompts as they might fit in the D20 as well, if that makes sense. So it just adds a little extra challenge, a little extra fun, a little extra scavenger hunt into it. So that's one thing. So I will be rolling it 5 times going forward. And the next rule that is the same is that I have to be picking books that I currently already own that month. So anything that comes up in the D20 game that month has to be fulfilled by a book that I physically own. And then also I have changed up some of the prompts on the die. So I'll just go through them all again. Some of them are the same, some of them are the classics, and then some of them are new ones that I have added in. So I will quickly go through the 20 prompts. So if I roll a 1, that is a critical fail. So for a 1, I have to add an extra book to my D20 challenge that month. So instead of 5 rolls, presumably there would be 6. So when I roll a 1, the first thing I will do is I will pull a random book from my shelf from this TBR jar. So this is just like a box that has almost all of my books, all of my unread books on these like little origami stars. So I will just pick a book completely at random from my shelf that I have to read that month, and then I have to roll again. If I get the number 2, I have to read a long book, a book 400 pages or longer. For 3, I have to read a TBR veteran, a book that has been on my shelf for a really long time. If I roll the number 4, I then have to roll a D4, which is a 4-sided die. So I will roll a D4, and then with whatever number comes up on the D4, I then pick a book from that corresponding shelf. 5 is an intimidating read or a book out of my comfort zone. So that could be a genre that I don't normally read, a subject matter that is a little bit intimidating to me. Just pick an intimidating read. 6 is a random genre generator. So I have on my phone like a wheel of genres. So I will just spin the wheel and then read a book that fits into that random genre. 7 is a nonfiction read. 8 is a repeat author, so an author that I have read before and enjoyed and want to read again. 9 is for me a translated read, so a book that was not originally published in English. 10 is the A to Z letter generator. So this one for some reason came up a lot in 2020, and for this one I pull up a random letter generator on my phone, and then for whatever letter comes up, I either pick a book that starts with that letter or the author's name that starts with that letter. 11 is a book that is from outside North America. So that could be that the author is from outside of North America, it is set outside of North America, or it was published outside of North America. This is just about diversifying my horizons and reading books from a perspective that I might not be super familiar with. 12 is a new to me author, so an author that I have not read before. 13 is a book that was written by a self-published author, so this could be like an indie press, an author who is publishing their own work. 14 is a BIPOC author with BIPOC representation. 15 is a horror read. 16 is a short story collection. 17 is a recent release. So for this, I'm going with something that's either published in 2020 or 2021. 18 is my most recently acquired book. So with whatever book came into my possession the most recently, that's the one that I will read. 19 is another random one, another wild card. This one is a random color generator. So I will spin like a random color wheel, and then with whatever color comes up, I will try and scavenge my shelves to find a book that most closely matches that cover color. And then 20, that is the critical hit, and for 20 it is to read a 5-star prediction. So I just came out with a newly updated 5-star prediction video. I will link that here, and then when this one comes up, I will either pick one of these books from this list that I think is going to be 5 stars, or if there's just a book at that point in time, whenever I'm doing the challenge, if there's just like a book that I'm like, yep, that's the one, that's the 5-star read, then that's the one I'll read. It's the critical hit, it's the winning number, so I just get to read the one that I truly am just the most hyped about and that I think is going to be the best. Those are the updated D20 rules, so I will link all of those below in the description box, and I will keep those in the description box every time I do one of the D20 challenges so that you can play along if you want to. So now we're gonna go ahead and play the game for January. Before we get into the rolls, I do just wanna go over a few of the books that I do want to read in January for either buddy reads or readathons, and then hopefully I can fit those into the D20 prompts if they fit, but if they don't, then I'll just have a mess ton of books to read, which is exciting. So the first book that I am planning to read in January is Mind of My Mind, which is the second book in the Patternist series by Octavia Butler. Mind of My Mind is the Octavia Butler slow readathon pick for December or January, so I want to fit it into January. And I'm not actually sure where Mind of My Mind is gonna go. It's the second book in the series. In the first one, we were in Wild Seed. We are following these two almost godlike beings who have the ability to live forever among other special abilities. So the novel had a lot of explorations on power dynamics, also eugenics. So I am very curious as to where Mind of My Mind will go. I kind of have a feeling that these are going to be like non-linear plots where each novel in the series is like a totally different set of characters. I could be totally wrong by that, but I'm not really sure what to expect from Mind of My Mind, but I am really excited to get to it. I loved Wild Seed. The next books that I would like to read in January are The Hunger by Alma Katsu and The Indifferent Stars Above by Daniel James Brown. I am planning on buddy reading both of these with Geraldine Reads, and so we are thinking about starting with The Hunger, which is a historical fiction horror novel about the events of the Donner Party, and then The Indifferent Stars Above is the non-fiction true account of the Donner Party. And so the Donner Party were a group of pioneers who in the early 1800s were attempting to travel across the Sierra Nevada mountains right at the beginning of winter. They got lost, they got led astray, they got stuck, and it was just like an absolute tragedy. There was cannibalism involved in that tragedy as well. And so The Hunger is like a fictionalized version, and then this is the true account. So I think we are planning on starting with The Hunger and then going into the nonfiction real account and see how that goes. Next up, we've got The Well by Jack Cady. This is a horror novel from 1980. I am buddy reading this with Bert from Pastori Time. I'm just waiting for my copy in the mail. I'm hoping it'll come soon. The Well is a wintry, gothic, haunted house story, so that sounds like the perfect read for January. In this, we are following a man named Jack who has like inherited this old family mansion home that is just this like absolute like gothic monstrosity. It's huge. It has all these like weird rooms and like trapdoors, and it's just like a really creepy house. And he has inherited it. He doesn't live in it, I think. And then it is like set to be demolished. So he decides to bring his girlfriend to the house to stay in it for a night or so in the winter, just to kind of see what's what. And then it's like a winter gothic, so they get trapped here because of the elements. And then the house is just sinister and creepy and has all these weird rooms, and it's a spooky gothic horror and a spooky haunted house. So that just sounds amazing, and I'm really excited to read that with Bert. And now it's the moment we've all been waiting for. We are going to kick off the 2021 TBR game with our first roll of the year. So the first roll of the die revealed the number 9, and that is to read a translated book or a book that was not originally published in English. And so for this one, I will be reading Body by Asa Nonami. This was originally published in Japanese and then translated into English. This is a horror short story collection where each story in this collection hyper focuses on a specific part of the body. I feel like there's a bit of like body horror, but then also an exploration of self-perception and like obsession and possibly like body dysmorphia as well in this. I'm really interested in this. Body horror is something that always gives me the heebie-jeebies in books, but I have also heard that this is quite a bit more subdued than I would have been expecting. So I'm interested in the kind of conversations that will happen in Body. So the second roll of the die revealed the number 16, and that is to read a short story collection. And if you know me, you know that I love short stories. I love short story collections. I'm really excited to read How Long Till Black Future Month by N.K. Jemisin. I have previously read the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. Absolutely loved it. It was one of the best fantasy series I have ever read ever. And so in How Long Till Black Future Month, this is a collection of speculative fiction, fantasy, science fiction short stories, all kind of surrounding the Black experience, the Black perspective. I have heard nothing but good things about this. This is another one that has been on my shelf for so long because I just feel like I'm gonna absolutely love it. So that means I never read it. That's just my cross to bear, but we're gonna kick off 2021 on the right foot and dig into some speculative fiction. I heckin' cannot wait. So the third roll revealed number 2. And that is to read a long book, a book that is at least 400 pages. And so I'm almost regretting saying I'm going to roll this 5 times, but you know what? We're here to read my books. We're here to read the books on my shelf. So we're going to persevere. So for a long book, I actually am quite excited to read No One Gets Out Alive by Adam Neville. This is a horror novel. It is well over 400 pages. I think it's well into the 600 pages. And I am really hyped to read this right now because of Jordaline. Jordaline has been gushing about this for a while, and it just really sucked me in. So I feel like if I'm going to read like a 600-page book, I better do it when I'm really hyped to read it, and the time is now. In No One Gets Out Alive, we are following a woman named Stephanie who is moving into a new flat. She is kind of apprehensive about the size of it. It is quite small and has the nickname The Cell, but it's a good price, and she decides she's just going to go for it and she's just going to move in. So she goes in with the best of intentions, moving into this new place, and then I believe it just turns into an absolute horror show from there. So spooky houses. I feel like January is just going to be like this spooky haunted house month. I have actually not read anything by Adam Neville yet, and I have a couple of his books on my shelf. So I feel like I gotta stop buying multiple books buy an author until I have read at least one. Does anybody else do that? So it's like, I'm just gonna collect them all, but I don't even know if I like them yet. So hopefully we will figure this out with No One Gets Out Alive. And hopefully I make it out alive. So funnily enough, roll 4 revealed the number 4, and for this one, I then have to go back to the rolling board to roll this d4. So let's just go back over there and roll this little d4. On the D4, we got the number 1, and this is to read a book from my number one shelf. So the book that I have picked from my top shelf up there is The Between by January TBR. I am really excited to read this one. It's been on my shelf for only a couple of months, and it's been calling to me lately. So I think that January is the time to read it. So in The Between, we are following a man named Hilton who, when he was a child, he nearly drowned. He was saved by his grandmother from drowning, and he is quite traumatized from that experience, understandably. And now, 30 years later, he is married to a judge. His wife is the only elected African-American judge in the county that they live in Florida, and she begins to receive racist hate mail. And so Hilton is very disturbed by the kind of like experience that him and his wife are having, a very tormented, like almost being stalked experience with this hate mail. But then he also is having nightmares that I believe are connected to his almost drowning when he was a child. So he is just starting to psychologically unravel. I feel like this is a psychological horror where Hilton is kind of haunted by his past, but then also his very real present that is occurring right now. Psychological horror is some of my favorite horror to read. This feels like it's going to be quite disturbing, but also with a very with like an edge of like extremely relevant social commentary. So I am really excited to read January TBR. I've heard such great things about her work, and I'm excited to check her out. This will be a new to me author as well. So the fifth roll revealed the number 6, and that is to use a random genre generator to pick my next read. So on my phone here, I'll put it up on the screen, I have a random genre wheel. And so we're just gonna spin the wheel, and then with whatever genre comes up, I'll pick a book that meets that genre. So we're just gonna go ahead and spin the wheel. Woohoo! So the random genre has come up with nonfiction. So for this one, I am going to fit in The Indifferent Stars Above right into this slot. So this is a perfect example of me fitting in a book that I already planned to read into the D20 game. So thank you, D20. Thank you, D20 gods, for helping me out here. So there you have it, pals. This is my January TBR, the books that I plan to read in the month of January. Let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought. Let me know if you want to read any of these books, and we can chat about it. So thanks again for being here, pals. I absolutely love hanging out with y'all. I absolutely love talking about books with you all. So take care out there, stay safe, stay spooky, and until next time, see you, pals!